Hello everyone. In the series of learning data structures, our today's topic is Calloc. Calloc is also known as contiguous memory allocation. So this is again for dynamic memory allocation. We have a C inbuilt function which is present inside standard library.h. So whenever I want to allocate the memory dynamically, and if I'm using Calloc, I have to include the header file stdlib.h. Now, malloc is another function for the same thing for dynamic memory allocation, which we have discussed in the previous video with example code. So if you have not gone through that video, please go through that video so you can understand the difference and you can understand this dynamic memory allocation properly. So here, um, Calloc allocates multiple block of contiguous memory in bytes. The Calloc function allocates whenever we are allocating the memory using Calloc function, by default it initializes them to 0. Whereas if you remember for malloc function, it allocates the memory and leaves them uninitialized. This is not the case for Calloc. Here, contiguous memory block will be allocated of how much bytes you want accordingly, and all the blocks will be of same size, and all will be initialized by default to 0. So syntax for calloc function, as you can see here also, there will be a pointer variable that will point to the first address, first base address. So the casting type for the pointer, then we have to use the word calloc, the keyword function name calloc. And as you can see, calloc takes two argument. First, n blocks means how many blocks, comma size. So size of any data type we can tell using size of operator. So we can use size of, and in bracket we can write which data type we want. So here what we can see here, you can see the example, it will be more clear to you people. For example, there is a pointer, integer pointer ptr. Now integer can point to only integer locations. So here if you can see how we are writing ptr assignment operator, what will come from here? Here this is the casting type, or I should say data type for this pointer. So this is the casting type for pointer variable. Calloc is the keyword. Now how many blocks I want, that we have to mention. So that n blocks here, if you can see here, we are taking the example as 5 comma the size. So how much size integer take? 4 bytes. So 20 bytes will be allocated, or I should say 5 blocks will be allocated to me with size 4, as the size of integer is 4. Similarly, if you can see here, if I want float type blocks, what we are taking another pointer ptr1. This is the casting type for pointer float. Now calloc we are using. Now only 3 bytes, 3 blocks I want. So 3 comma size of float. Now again float takes 4 bytes. So what will happen? 4 bytes, 3 blocks of 4 bytes will be allocated in the memory. So again, point to remember, all will be initialized by default to 0 here. So if I will draw this in front of you, it will be something like this. For example, here, what will happen? Let us suppose 5 bytes we want. Let us suppose the name of this array is A. So A of 0 will come here with 4 bytes. A of 1 will come here with 4 bytes, and contiguous memory allocation it will be done till A of 4. So 0 to 4, that means 5 blocks. Like this it will happen. Similarly, if I will see for this, then 0 to 2. So here A of 0. Now here float type of data can be accommodated. A of 1 and A of 2. Like this it can be done. And by default it will be initialized to 0. As soon as memory allocation is happening, by default, all the places which we are allocating, dynamically allocating using Calloc, all are initialized to 0. So I hope this is clear. Now, in the last section, we have done programming for Malloc, and I was thinking to explain the same code for Calloc. So let's convert that code for Calloc so it will be clear. So what we were doing in Malloc, as if you remember, here we were creating a pointer variable mptr, and there is a variable which is known as num, how much bytes I want or how much bigger block size I want, that I asked from the user. For example, if user is saying here num value is 3, so what will happen, size of int is how much, 4 bytes, 3 into 4 how much, 12. So 12 bytes, this much bigger block will be allocated here. So 12 bytes using malloc will be allocated, and the pointer will point to the base address for this. For example, here pointer name is what, mptr. So this mptr will point to the base address of this. For example, the address given to us, starting address is 2000, and because 4 bytes are allocated, so 2000, then 2004, then 2008, and 2012. So like this it will be. So the base address will be pointed by mptr, so mptr will point to 2000. This was the concept of malloc, right? Now understand what will happen in Calloc. So as you can see here, let me draw this for Calloc. We will ask user to insert how many bytes user want, and in case of Calloc, what happens here, understand how the syntax vary. For example, this is the program for Calloc. Let me call it cptr. Now understand how the program will vary. The user will enter how many blocks user want, and contiguously that many blocks my Calloc will allocate. So here we are updating the program, we are calling the Calloc. Now if you can notice, malloc takes only one argument because this is in multiplication, this is only one argument, whereas Calloc takes two argument. So we will pass the num and we will pass the size separately, right? So here again same thing, it will ask user to see whether if it is null or not. If this ptr cptr, the Calloc pointer, the pointer which is pointing to this location, if it is null, that means memory allocation is not done. So understand here what will happen. Let us suppose this num I'm entering as 3, so contiguous memory location 444 bytes will be allocated. So for example, this will be num0, this will be num1, and this will be num2. Like this it will be allocated. Fine. Next what will happen, the cptr will point to the base address. For example, this is the first address, whatever address, let us suppose 2000, so cptr will point to this location, right? And by default these will be initialized to 0. Okay, so here you can see these things easily. If you can see here, what we are doing, we are allocating the memory. So here I have updated it to cptr. So here when I value is 0, what will happen, cptr 0, where is cptr 0, here is cptr 0. We are putting there I plus 1. What is I? 0. 0 plus 1 is how much? 1. So we are updating here, instead of 0 we are updating here 1. Then what will happen, I value will increment, I will become 2. 2 is less than num, how much is num? 3 is num, that's why we got 3 places. So 2 is less than 3, yes, 2 is less than 3. Then cptr I, what is the value of I? 1. So at cptr 1 we will do I plus 1, that is 1 plus 1, which is nothing but 2. Next again I will get incremented. I will become 2. 2 is less than 3. Yes, 2 is less than 3. So CPTR2 will be 2 plus 1, that is 3. Like this we are allocating the values here. Fine. Next what will happen? We will ask user to print these values as well as these address, on which address these values are present. All these things we will ask user to enter. So here let me clear all these and then we will update the program, and we will run this program so we will understand all these things properly. So here what will happen, here instead of this mptr, now the value is present inside cptr, and I will print it. I hope I have updated everything. um, let's see. So gcc a.exe, if there is no error it will comes to next line, as it came to next line. Now I'm entering 3. So here if you can see, as the values are integer, so 4 bytes difference is there, 176, 180 and 184, and it is allocating what, it is allocating the value 123. Now let's see. We are saying that Calloc by default initializes it to 0. So let's not put this loop. Let's not allocate the memory, and let's see what happens by default. So I'm putting this for loop in comment line. What will happen? This entire section will not run. So we will see what are the default values allocated, right? So here I'm saving this program, and let me run this compile this program again, and we will run this. Now if I will enter 3, as you can see it is allocated to new places 80, 84, 88, 44 bytes. And here if you can see, by default it is initialized to 0. Let's see the program. I will convert it for malloc, so you will understand like how I was saying that garbage value will come. So as you can, if you remember here, if malloc, we will use the keyword malloc. Malloc takes only one argument, so here instead of comma it will be multiplication. Anything else? That's it. So when we will use this code, what will happen? I am compiling it again, and when we will run this, here if you can see, now element and some random garbage value. This is not 0, this is also the garbage value only. Some random garbage value malloc is taking, but if you can see the location here, if you can see 864, 868 and 872, 4 bytes, that many bytes are allocated, but this is an entire block allocated by malloc. And here contiguous memory locations are allocated by Calloc. So that's the difference between malloc and Calloc. I hope it is clear. So next section we will see the difference between malloc and Calloc, and we will see other dynamic memory allocation techniques, and we will see how to free the memory as well. This is it for this session. Don't forget to share and subscribe. Thank you so much.